We're back at it. Not even sure if you can see the stadium to my right at the moment, but that's Luton Town. So we're at the home of football at the moment, Kenilworth Road, of course. So it's always apropos that we start here because obviously this is where the weekend of last started. So obviously we'll go through the weekend results, and of course we'll go through the predictions. I figure this might be the best time to do it over the weekend of internationals, of course. So we'll get right into it. Kenilworth Road. We'll start with Luton 1, West Ham United 2. Now, as much gusto as Luton gave in that game, they don't have enough to compete in this league, which is a little bit sad, to be quite honest with you. They haven't got the manpower. They ain't got the squad to do it in general. There's not one Premier League player in that Luton squad at the moment. And no, I will not include Ross Barkley in that because I do believe his legs are gone. West Ham, though, by contrast, have started brilliantly. Have started like a house on fire. Really look like a cohesive unit at the moment. That Declan Rice money was well spent. They've got a really decent squad. They'll do well in Europe again this season. I don't think their Premier League form will suffer because of that. They play some really entertaining football, which is obviously very difficult for me to say about a West Ham team, but you've got to give credit where due. I'll even go as far as to give David Moyes the Manager of the Month award above my genius Ange Postecoglou, who has obviously started brilliantly as well. Formality result, that one. I didn't think Luton had enough to beat West Ham. I thought they'd probably nick a point, but as so it stands, West Ham, another 3 points for them, another valuable away win, and another Jared Bowen goal, which I think I did call in the last video. I did say he was in really decent form, and I thought he'd score again, which he did. On to the next two that I think are actually going down with Luton. Sheffield United versus Everton. That was the early kickoff on the Saturday. Entertaining game again. But this is what you get when you get two teams that do not know how to defend. Midfields are non-existent, which is quite strange to say about Everton, considering their midfield is actually quite decent. On paper, Guy, Decore and Onana should absolutely wipe the floor with many midfields in this league. They've got all the pace, they've got all the power, they are very, very good on the ball technically. They're so wide open. But it doesn't help when you've got, dinosaur hands in goal and, a defence that gets breached pretty much any time you touch it. They're in trouble this season. Sheffield United haven't got a hope in hell. A bit like Luton at the moment, don't necessarily have a Premier League player in that squad, so they will struggle. Many facets about Everton I like, more I dislike. They're a likeable club, Everton. They just don't have a likeable style of play. And I think that's down to Sean Dyche, obviously. If it's not going up in the air to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, on the floor, Everton are quite atrocious. Sheffield United, just Sheffield United. So I don't expect much from them, to be quite honest. So those three complete my bottom three for this season. On to one of the hat-tricks this season in the same week. If you guys are smart enough, I want you lot to tell me when the first week was, when there were 3 hat-tricks in that same game day, when it was, and tell me the 3 strikers or players that scored it. Manchester City 5, Fulham 1. Formality, not really much to go off with regards to this one. There's not really much I can go into that you don't already know necessarily. It was like lambs to slaughter, even though Fulham did square it up and we're in the game for about 5 to 10 minutes time. Man City just pretty much flex their muscles and show them what's good at the Etihad, and Fulham had no answer for it. Erling Haaland on the score sheet 3 times again this season. Another Premier League game, another Premier League hat-trick for him. And Manchester City will go through this season unscathed, I believe. I believe they're the champions again, elect. Fulham will comfortably be in the top 10. Chelsea 0, Nottingham Forest 1. So this is the one of the shocks of the season. Or is it? Chelsea have been stinking for the past few weeks. Even that week they beat Luton, they weren't great. They've got a really decent squad, but nobody of note that you'd actually go and be like, do you know what? I want you, I'll take you. They don't know how to finish. They haven't got a striker yet that knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. Raheem Sterling is not that guy, even though he has been their best player. Kind of been non-existent the last couple of games for them at the moment. Nottingham Forest went there with a game plan. Game plan was to pretty much set up shop, do what they kind of did to Man United in the first half of last week, nick the goal and then sit back and defend. And that's pretty much what they did, even though they didn't need to, defend so stoically as they did. Chelsea literally could have been there all weekend and wouldn't have scored a goal. I believe Potter's in trouble. I think he's going to be the first manager sacked if Chelsea don't find any form soon. And this isn't reactionary. It's just what I've seen of the past 4 games. Chelsea do not look like they're at it. They're not clicking at all. Defensively, they're all over the place. Midfield should be clicking. It's probably one of the best assets that Chelsea have, but they're posing their own problems at the moment. They're so slow to everything. And up front doesn't seem to be yielding anything either. So I do see a change happening there after the international break to obviously change their fortunes. But how they do that with the personnel, I have no idea. On to Turf Moor. Burnley 2, Tottenham 5. Second hat-trick of the day. This fell to Son Heung-min, who seems to be reveling in the fact that he's club captain and the main man at the moment. This is what happens when you play Son through the middle. He will work hard and he does like to press and he will score goals because he's a class finisher. I thought the balance was right for Spurs. I think I heard Bant say midweek that James Maddison's the cheat code. He's absolutely spot on. You put Maddison in that setup with Conte, Spurs do not cook like they're cooking now. You put him in an 11 with Ange Postecoglou, which is total football. James Maddison unlocks everything and anything as soon as he gets onto the ball, and so it's said at Turf Moor. Spurs went 1-0 down. At no point in that game did I think to myself, oh, Jesus, we're going to lose another game. Was never going to happen. We were always going to come back and we were always going to dominate because we keep so much of the ball, we create so many chances, and likelihood is we're going to literally put 2 or 3 past you. That's how I feel every game now under Postecoglou. Really, really good. Maddison on the score sheet again. Son getting 3, and Christian Romero with one of the most amazing finishes you're going to see from a centre-back this season. Absolutely rifled it into the top corner. Yeah, really, really decent game. I'm actually enjoying what I'm seeing for the first time in about 3-4 years. I don't sort of watch games thinking to myself, oh, we're going to concede. As soon as we concede, we're going to fall apart and concede more. I look at it more now as if we concede, we're getting back into this game, we're going to win it. No Europe this season, so we are a problem to this league. As much as people are not going to want to acknowledge it, I don't really care. If we keep everyone fit, 1 game a week, we'll easily finish in the top 4, top 5. It's top 5 this season for Champions League. We're easily going to finish there. I'm not worried about anybody else, to be quite honest with you. On to the G-Tech. Brentford, another team that's unbeaten so far in the league this season, against a Bournemouth side who are very dogged. Brentford 2, Bournemouth 2, that ended. I had Brentford obviously to win that one. I thought their home form would obviously sort of kick on from last season, which hasn't sort of yielded as you'd think. They've had 2 draws there already, 2-2 to us and 2-2 to Bournemouth. So it's a lot of goals conceded. The good thing about Brentford is they're scoring goals, so they'll comfortably be mid-table. Bournemouth will probably be sort of in and around the sort of 15th, 16th place. Don't see them getting relegated, as I've already told you, the 3 teams that I think are going down. But for the game itself, I didn't really see it. I can only go on the stats that I did see, and it looked pretty even. Obviously, Brentford having a majority of possession of the ball. Bournemouth obviously giving as good as they got, with chances created and obviously the goals that were scored. But it's one of those games which I'm not surprised that Bournemouth nicked a point. It's more of a surprise that Brentford are so good at home. They should have put Bournemouth away and couldn't seem to do so. But again, Bournemouth are very, very dogged. Very proud of this game because I called it. Brighton 3, Newcastle 1. I'm in a group chat, a betting group chat with a few of my work colleagues, and I think every single one of them, bar one, and that was Josh, said that Brighton were going to win the game against Newcastle. I had everyone coming to me going, hey, Newcastle are going to do this, Newcastle are going to do that. You forget that Newcastle in the past 2 games have had games against Manchester City and Liverpool and did not lay a glove on either one of those clubs, especially last week, especially when Liverpool went down to 10 men. There was no way in high heaven, even though Brighton did get put in a spliff against West Ham last week at home. There was no way that this was going to happen again, and Brighton were on their P's and Q's. This is the 3rd hat-trick that we're talking about, and this was for Mr. Evan Ferguson. 19 years old. There's a reason why Brighton have slapped an 80 million, 90 million price tag on him, and they could probably go and get a little bit more if they really wanted to. Really, really, really decent outfit. And I like what Brighton do at home as well. Brighton are one of those that will stay in the top 10 this season. Probably finish in the top 8, to be fair. They're good enough to do it. Got a striker that can score goals. Have a style of play that actually works with the players that they have. Really, really good to watch. Newcastle at the moment look wretched. really, really, really rancid. They don't look good at all at the moment. That, of course, will change, I believe. They've got squad players that can actually come in and do a job. Their first team isn't actually that bad. It's just a matter of obviously finding what clicks for them. But I do think they're getting found out a little bit. Champions League this season is not going to help them much, but they do have a decent squad. And something will click for them very soon. They've got a very, very talented bunch, and they'll obviously pick up points this season. Keep in mind that their only win of the season was the opening day against Aston Villa. They haven't won a game since, so could be potential problems at St James's Park if they don't pick up form quite soon. On to Crystal Palace versus Wolverhampton. Great game again. Again, not one of those that I did see, unfortunately. But judging by the stats, Crystal Palace dominated all proceedings. Wolverhampton had 2 or 3 chances in the game and put them both away. But Palace do look deceptively very, very good under Roy Hodgson. I think Zaha leaving is obviously a little bit like the Kane effect. When Spurs sort of sold him, everyone has kind of sort of stepped up and come to the fore. And Palace just seem to be putting the ball in the back of the net at the moment. Really, really good going forward. And this is without Michael Olise. I do enjoy watching Crystal Palace play football, to be quite fair to you, because they're no nonsense. They kind of get the ball from back to front very, very quickly and do try to make sure that they, nick at least a couple of goals in a game. They don't stop trying, which is what I like about them. Wolverhampton, again, another one of those teams that are quite decent. Just lost Podence. He's now gone. But again, they've got enough to stay up as well. I do see them in the sort of bottom 5, bottom 6, sort of fighting it out with the rest of them. But they'll have enough to obviously stay up for me. But good win for Palace again. And I think they'll pick up more points like that because they are a really dogged team as well. Liverpool versus Aston Villa was the game that I was watching while the other Palace game was on. And I had this one down as an Aston Villa win / maybe a draw. Because obviously Aston Villa are one of those teams that do like to play football. They did not show up at all against Liverpool at Anfield. Not at all. Dominic Szoboszlai, fantastic finish on the volley. Fantastic player, to be quite honest with you. They really got a good player on their hands. And the one worry I had with Liverpool was them fixing their midfield, which they seem to have done now. So they're going to be in the running for the top 5 this season as well. Their firepower's up there, one of the best in the league. They look like they're going to keep Mo Salah at the moment. And they've got others in reserve in case they needed to change it up. But no, Liverpool went out 3-0 winners. It was really comfortable for them in the end. Aston Villa didn't really have a hope and a prayer against them. I was hoping for a bit more from Villa, but they didn't give. And Liverpool ran out 3-0 winners there. Final game of the weekend, and everyone is cooking Man United for this. It's been an onslaught since the game ended, especially with what Jesus done at the end to Diogo Dalot. It finished Arsenal 3, Man United 1 from the Emirates. It was a really decent game, a game which Man United obviously took the lead with Marcus Rashford, his first of the season. But then Arsenal just seemed to kind of turn it on. I wouldn't say Arsenal were fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Arsenal are just very, very good when they have the ball. They're very, very decent possession-based. And they do like to get the ball wide and obviously break quite quickly, which Man United, I thought, nullified quite well. A couple of touchy decisions in the game pertaining to the goal that met for Man United that I thought shouldn't have stood because he was offside. So I thought that was the right call there. I don't think the penalty shout was wrong either. I thought Kai Havertz kind of fell over. There was nothing Casemiro could do, so I thought that they did right with regards to that. But I thought the game as a spectacle was actually quite decent. It did deliver. It was a throwback to sort of the classic matches they used to have back in the day. Arsenal running out 3-1 winners. Declan Rice scoring his first goal, of course. Jesus getting his first of the season. And obviously Odegaard scoring the equaliser after obviously Rashford had given Man United the lead. I thought United gave a good account of themselves. I really, really did. I think the midfield of Amrabat, Bruno Fernandes, and I don't know, one of sort of Christian Eriksen, Casemiro, whoever it is that they have in that sort of rotation of a 3 will get better because Amrabat will be holding, and then obviously you have Casemiro to obviously do what he wants to do, and then obviously Bruno Fernandes to obviously concentrate on him sort of creating. Will get a lot better. Like I said, I don't think they were bad. I just know they don't have enough in the midfield at the moment. So Amrabat should help that. But I think there are bigger problems at Man United than they're letting on. I think defensively, too many injuries. Once Varane is back, Martinez, I don't think was injured. I think he just came off because he had a yellow. They will be a lot better. Onana doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence at the moment. Very kind of half a dozen to one, you know, that saying. Very good with the ball at his feet. Exceptionally good with the ball at his feet. Can pass, obviously, can ping a few passes here and there, but decision making for him is still sort of needs to be looked at the moment. And in this league, he'll get punished if he's not careful. And yeah, it's just one of those games that I expected, obviously, Arsenal to win. I wanted Man United to win for obvious reasons, but I didn't expect Man United to win because Arsenal are obviously in a better way at the moment, and so it proved. So that's my roundup of last week. We'll go into match day 5 predictions. I'm going to quickly whiz through this before I've got to leave this absolute palace of a football club and grounds. First game is Wolverhampton versus Liverpool. That is from Molineux. That is a 12:30 kickoff Saturday the 16th. And I'm going to go with a formality Liverpool win here. I think it's going to be 3-1 to them. Both teams to score. Liverpool to pick up another valuable 3 points. 3 o'clock, Fulham versus Luton. I will go with a Fulham 3-0 win. I think Luton are going to have another perilous game, and that's going to be 4 games without a win for them. So that's their 4th loss this season for me. Tottenham versus Sheffield United. That's from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Again, formality for Spurs. I think we'll go win that game 3-0. I don't see Sheffield United getting much of a sniff, to be quite honest, and I do see I do see James Maddison conducting proceedings. Of course, if he stays fit, then he'll be the one to sort of watch out for. Son again on the score sheet for me as well. West Ham United versus Manchester City has obviously become a very tough game for Manchester City, who don't necessarily travel well to West Ham. They don't necessarily travel well to London in general, Man City, actually. Well, that's only when it comes to us, of course, because they don't beat us down here. West Ham, versus Manchester City. I'm going to go with a sneaky draw for this one. I'm going to go with a 1-1. West Ham know how to play good football. I know it's the sort of, week after the international football is finished and everyone's going to be sort of getting back to their full fitness. I just feel like West Ham are one of those teams at the moment are really, really good form. They're in really, really good shape, and I think Manchester City will struggle to obviously break them down, but I do see a 1-1 draw there. At the London Stadium. Manchester United versus Brighton. Again, this is one of those games which could go either way. Of course, Brighton beat Manchester United first game of the season last season at Old Trafford, and I do see a draw here as well. I do see a Man United 2, Brighton 2 game. Both teams to score again. That pretty much would solve that. It's just a matter of who wants it more in a day. But Brighton are one of those that you can't shake off. Man United do have to get the job done early against them. As the longer the game draws on, I do think Brighton will get stronger and probably nick a goal. Aston Villa versus Crystal Palace. I was going to say Battle of the Clarets and Blue. One that I see Villa coming out of. I see a 2-1 win there for Aston Villa, to be quite honest, at Villa Park. Crystal Palace, again, will give a good account of themselves, but I do think Aston Villa have enough to beat Palace at Villa Park over the weekend. Newcastle versus Brentford is the late kickoff on Saturday, 16th. Newcastle are in problems. If they can't get their form together, Brentford aren't one of those teams that will let you lie. Simply they will come at you with everything they've got. And I do think Newcastle are one of those teams at the moment. International break couldn't come quickly for them at the moment. Think it could be a blessing in disguise, but I am going with a draw on that one. I don't think Newcastle will lose, and I don't think Brentford are going to lose there either. So we'll go with a 1-1 draw there as well. Super Sunday. It consists of Bournemouth versus Chelsea. That's a 2 o'clock kickoff. Life and the Vitality. Again, another one of those games which can literally go either way. I'm not fancying Chelsea either. Their form currently is shocking against a very, very decent Bournemouth unit on a very, very, very small and tight pitch down by the seaside. I will go with a Bournemouth win now. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Bournemouth win. I just don't think Chelsea are about it at the moment. Confidence would be shot to pieces. The style at the moment isn't working. Of course, Chelsea can come out and slap them 3-4-0. Of course they can. I just don't think this is the weekend to do it. I think home comforts would have been better for them to come back to. Bournemouth is a horrible, horrible away day for any team. And Chelsea, I think, will come and start there. Bournemouth 2-1 for me. Everton versus Arsenal from Goodison. Everton are atrocious at the moment. Arsenal haven't clicked into first gear as yet, but I do expect Arsenal to yield a result here. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win to Arsenal on this one. Everton need to back their ideas up and quite quickly if they're going to do anything of any ilk against anyone in this league, because they are very predictable. I do think they need to start better in that game. And they need to learn how to defend again. I know Tarkowski is back there, but they need someone next to him who knows sort of what they're doing. But I do see problems for Everton this season, and I don't think they get a result here against Arsenal. Monday Night Football will be at the City Ground, and that's, of course, Nottingham Forest versus Burnley, and that's my final game roundup of the week. We're going to go with a Nottingham Forest win. As good as Burnley do look, they are trying to play football in the right way. They need to have a good balance in this league. You can't just play pretty football and not expect to defend. That's not the way of the Premier League and how it works. And Nottingham Forest will be on a high because of their win last week at Chelsea. So I do expect Nottingham Forest to pick up 3 points there. I will go with a 2-1 win there. And that